thrilled to welcome you into one of our favorite things we do. It's Laurel's List. Yes, Laurel Lunsford stops by our Culver's studios to tell us exactly what would make her list of a certain subject. You see it daily on the Meltdown with Luntz's list, and now it's time to give that power over to John's wife. John, I think Laurel has done a fantastic job with this assignments.
She has. You like her list a lot better than mine so far.
Yeah.
She does a lot better job with this than I do.
Tim and I are on the same wavelength on a lot of things.
We are. These assignments can be tough to narrow down because I try to play right into Laurel's fandom, and today we are on the subject of one actress, and that is Reese Witherspoon, but she's so much more than just an actress, and she's someone that you admire very much, Laurel.
Oh, I love Reese Witherspoon, and as we were just talking about before we started this, she has such range and such a vast filmography, and she's done so much producing. If you look at some of the movies that she's done, I think you'd be kind of surprised, but also that she has a lot. So I'm very excited about this.
So I have tasked you with coming up with the 5 projects that you believe are the most quality or the best in which she has been a part of. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and start with number 5 on this list because today is actually Reese Witherspoon's birthday, the day in which we are recording this. So happy birthday to Reese Witherspoon.
Maybe she'll watch this.
What would you say is number 5 to get this list started?
Well, I'm wearing it on my shirt, and like a true 90s girl, I have to go with Cruel Intentions. I feel like this is a movie that I feel like it was pretty moderately received when it came out, especially by teenagers and preteens like myself at that time. But it has grown this cult following. And as I was talking to, when you gave me this task to choose these projects, I was telling John, in this film, she was probably the least famous of the people in the movie at this time. Because it has Ryan Flippe, who she was married to, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who of course we know is like the Scream Queen and was huge at that time, but Selma Blair, and then I believe his name is can you look up what the actor is that's in Save the Last Dance? Joshua Jackson.
Joshua Jackson,
who had the blonde hair, which we remember he had that in Urban Legend and Scream 2 as well, which Sarah Michelle Gellar was also in. But this was
Sean Patrick Thomas.
Yes, Sean Patrick Thomas. So this was kind of one of her, I would say a bigger role for her because I guess she was third billed, but this was showing off her acting. It's actually based off a Shakespeare play, I believe, and it started showing even her, at her young age, those acting chops that she had.
She plays the role of Annette in this film.
Yes.
And do you remember, was it something that instantly clicked with you the first time you saw it, or was it something you fell more in love with time over time watching it?
Well, of course, at that time, I loved that she and Ryan Flippe were like a real couple, and I think she was pregnant while they were actually filming this movie. Gosh. So there's a lot of backstory that goes with this. But she was the quintessential girl next door, because you can look in the pictures. Sarah Michelle Gellar was supposed to be, the bad girl, and Reese Witherspoon, who I think is one of America's sweethearts. I mean, you would have to say that. And I think that she really carried this role, and she's good at it. For a teen movie, it is quite good.
People love this film for sure. It has stood the test of time.
And did you know that Saltburn, I believe her name is Emerald, what is her last name?
Fennel.
She took huge inspiration from Cruel Intentions to make Saltburn.
Wow.
So
think
about that.
That correlates to where we are right now in 2024. Everybody losing their mind over that movie.
Yeah.
Let's go with number 4 on Laurel's list of the 5 things associated with Reese Witherspoon that you think are the best.
And I think this might be your favorite, but Big Little Lies.
Yes.
That is number 4 for me. This is when she started producing. I believe the story was, I think she and Nicole Kidman both wanted the rights to it, so they decided to join forces and said, let's make it together. They were both in it. It's got a huge lineup in it, but I think they really stick out, both of them, because they are such phenomenal actresses. Of course, Nicole Kidman is married to one of the...
Alexander Skarsgård.
Yes. And Reese is married to Adam Scott. Yes. And
in the show.
Yes. Not in real life. But I think this also started the producing, how she was starting to buy up. She's a huge bookworm. And in fact, if you follow her on Instagram, she always has her book picks, and a lot of those she has turned into films. And this was one that she talked about, and she ended up buying the rights to it, and it became an award-winning series, which I think that's pretty amazing. And it's a good show.
Meryl Streep joined season 2.
And there's going to be season 3. They've basically confirmed that.
Cannot wait. And it really introduced to a lot of people for the first time Zoe Kravitz, who was in this show, who later became Catwoman. So I love Big Little Lies. My wife loves it. We love watching this show together.
It's a good HBO show.
And I felt like both seasons were strong. I know that the first season is looked at as being untouchable, but the second season I thought was really strong as well. And I cannot wait to see what portion of this group comes back to collaborate for a season 3. Can't wait.
So for 3, I was struggling. I wasn't sure if I was going to include it or not because I was going between The Morning Show and Walk the Line, both which I think are good, but I'm going to end up having to go with Walk the Line because that is what she won the Oscar for.
2006? Am I right about that?
2004?
2005.
2005. We're right there in the middle.
Hey, there we go.
I don't think this is her best movie. I think she actually should have won for a different movie, which will be on the list later. But I do think her transforming into June Carter, I actually think Joaquin Phoenix is probably better in this movie than he was in Joker. No offense. But
we were on such the same page there.
But
I loved Walk the Line. I was in an acting competition thing, and I told my mom, I said, if I win an award here, you got to treat me to a day at Walk the Line. That's what I want to go see. And I ended up winning the award, went to go see Walk the Line. It was one of the best film experiences I've ever had.
It's a really good film. She showed that she could sing. I think that's the first time people actually saw her with brown hair. And I know that sounds silly, but she's known for being such a blonde that really kind of transformed her in her look. She really embodied the character. I think she and Joaquin had really good chemistry together. And that's why she won the Oscar.
It was a movie that was so good and so successful that it really spurned off so many different projects trying to replicate that success. And we're still seeing the ramifications of that today. John, this is not an official Luntz's list, but if we were to do best music biopics, just tell me this. Would Walk the Line be in consideration for your top 5?
John Lunsford has not seen Walk the Line.
I've got to make him watch it. And that year was the same year that Philip Seymour Hoffman won for Capote. And so I said we have to watch those this summer too because those are both very, very, very good movies.
I am not a Johnny Cash fan. I can respect some of his music, but overall I don't really care for him, so it wasn't like a must-see when it came out.
And you said number 3 was between Walk the Line and The Morning Show,
which I think is excellent.
Does that mean The Morning Show did not make Laurel's list?
It did not, which is odd because I love Jennifer Aniston. And they played sisters on Friends, so of course I love that combination. But since she did win the Oscar for this, and I thought that was maybe a little bit important than my Friends love.
I've watched a lot of The Morning Show, and I've heard a lot of people describe it as the best, worst show on TV. And I can understand that.
I think this last season really killed it.
I think this last season is the best season so far, but I could see how people would not like this past season.
I think the first season, great. The second season, I could kind of see how people maybe didn't care for it. The third season, and they automatically picked it up for a fourth season after they viewed the third season. So that should tell you that they're doing something right.
All right, let's get into number 2 on Laurel's list.
And number 2 is the movie I think she should have won the Oscar for, and that's Wild. I love this movie. I read the book after I saw it, and I love the whole story that goes into it. It's based on Cheryl Strayed, and they actually do look very similar. And when they made this movie, she was like, "I want Reese Witherspoon to play me." And Reese Witherspoon said, "You know what? Not only am I going to play you, I'm going to produce this movie." And this is really what got her on the path of producing. In fact, she was producing another movie that year, which I think is also one of your favorites, Gone Girl.
Love Gone Girl.
She was supposed to be the main female in Gone Girl, and she couldn't do it because she was doing this movie, which I think Rosamund Pike turned out to be good too.
Definitely.
So, but I would have loved to have seen Reese in that part.
Is this just a Saltburn podcast? Because Rosamund Pike is in that movie too.
But I loved Wild. I just thought the movie it spans several years. So you see her when she's, and Reese Witherspoon is probably one of the few people that could pull this off. You see her, how she was probably early 40s at that point, but they had her playing as young as a high school version of herself. And she said only in Hollywood could Laura Dern play her mother, and here she was supposed to be 18, 19 years old. She's like, she's only 5 years younger or older than me, and we're playing mother and daughter.
Talk about a high school version. Is Election going to be on this list? Or
that's a close one, too. I do love Election. But number 1 for me has to be Legally Blonde, because that is what put her on the map. And I think you can't think Reese Witherspoon without, even she herself, I think, would say that that is probably her most iconic role. In fact, a few years ago, actually, it might have been on her birthday, she tried on the bunny costume that she wore. Still fits because, of course, you know, in Hollywood, everyone stays the same shape, I feel like. But she looked amazing, and she said that is the part that most people ask her about. And they're making a third one. You know, it's in pre-production, so she's keeping
staying busy. I mean,
she's booked and busy.
My gosh. Now, I know there are some things outside of her filmography that you really appreciate and like as well. You got a chance to actually meet her in person, right?
I did. And she was very sweet. She has, it's called Draper James, but she was creating she has a whole, I believe her production company is called Hello Sunshine, but she was promoting her book, and it's called In a Whiskey in a Teacup.
Whiskey in a Teacup.
Yes. And so she was promoting her book, and I got to go to an event and meet her and chat with her, and she was very, very sweet and very nice and just a sweet Southern lady.
There are a certain few people that if I've met them or when I meet them, I'll be nervous. John, I'm sure that you have just a couple in your list, but Dirk Nowitzki for me it was a nervous thing meeting him and shaking his hand and getting a picture and all of that because I was such a huge fan. I still am. But were you nervous at all meeting Reese Witherspoon?
Yes.
Were the butterflies there?
Yes,
I mean, did you have to go in and like talk yourself
I was
up?
just like, I just hope that nothing weird happens. If I don't trip, I hope I don't like fall or anything. But you know, even if you did, I feel like she's the type that probably would have just brushed it off. She seems like she is just a girl's girl, just living it up, making amazing movies and buying. Like I said, she's an incredible producer. If you look at her filmography and see the things that she's produced, I would bet she'll probably win an Oscar for producing over acting for the next go around.
Laurel is betting on the Oscar for producing over acting. John, there's a lot of places where our audience can place bets daily, have a good time about it, and that is with our title sponsor, MyBookie.
If she ever is nominated for an Oscar, you can bet on it there like you did this year. Wasn't smart to bet on Nolan because it was such a favorite. But, hey, go play some of those underdogs. You might can win big at mybookie.ag. You can use promo code next round when you make that first deposit. Get a bonus on us. Go play in March Madness. Go play in the casino. Go do all kinds of stuff. mybookie.ag.
There is Laurel's list. Laurel, we always appreciate you being
thank you so
here.
much for
Thank
having
you for
me. It's
contributing.
so fun being with you guys.
Yes, we are having a blast with Laurel's list and appreciate the conversation that it starts. The conversation doesn't end here. In the comment section below, let us know what's your favorite Reese Witherspoon project. We would love to hear from you. I don't think we got around to Sweet Home Alabama, and that's exactly where we're based here, Laurel.
Yeah, I know. That one was a close one. I do love all her romantic comedies, but I had to pick the dramas for her birth. The Oscar winners, you know?
I understand. A big happy birthday to Reese Witherspoon, especially from Laurel, who's such a huge fan. And we'll be back with another edition of Laurel's List very soon right here on The Meltdown. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel.